luscious goodies right out of the garden are going into a 500-degree oven until they start to pop and sizzle and the juices start leaking out. The other fourth of the green cherry tomatoes are in my food processor, which I don't have a proper food processor. I'm using a blender and it's going to work. So sometimes we just have to make things work, right? And that's what I'm doing with this. So they're going into the 500-degree oven now, and we'll carry on. So the tomatoes are in the oven. The 3/4 of them are in the oven, and I'm waiting for them to get to where they're sizzling and the juices are running out. And they said even a little charred. I don't know if that'll happen in my oven, but I've even read that this is really good if you do a tomatillo cooking, if you do it over roasting it on a fire outside, like over oak or something. But I don't have that access either. In the first cup here, you will see the pink stuff is Himalayan sea salt, and the recipe calls for one and a half teaspoons of salt. I want to tell you that the reason I'm using sea salt, you could use canning salt, kosher salt, but if you used iodized salt, it's not going to do right with your preserving. It's going to change color of things, and it's not going to be good product, and sometimes there's additives added to those salts. The yellowish brown stuff in there, that's the cumin. That's 1 tablespoon of cumin, and then the red is a teaspoon of smoked paprika. These spices are costly, and I buy store brands, and because right now, as you all know, prices are high, and I have to look for store brands. Many senior citizens are in the same situation, and so are many young families. So I'm just saying there's ways that you can work with things, and store brands do help me do that. So also the Dollar Tree sometimes has spices that you would be surprised. I think my Himalayan sea salt came from, and it's pure Himalayan sea salt. That came from TJ Maxx. So I kind of just shop around for those kinds of things. Now at this point, you can alter things. You need that amount of salt. If you don't like that much cumin taste, which is kind of a taste you get in chilies, like chili that you eat like a soup, that cumin, you can alter that a bit. You can add or take away, but you can't change anything to do with the lime juice and the vinegar. That's really necessary for preservation. Even though tomatoes are a high acid food, very high acid, you need that 5% vinegar, and that lime juice is just also part of this. This is a Mexican flavored salsa, and I love it, and I appreciate the culture and the foods that we do get from other cultures and other countries. I appreciate that a lot. So I wanted to just let you know that, and then I'm going to move you over here and let you see that in this pot I have chopped onion. That's from my garden. I have the little bright yellowish, almost neon green pepper. That is banana peppers from my garden. And also, I said the onions from my garden. And part of the green pepper is, the other part, I did use part of a store-bought one. So I have, everything's got to be really fresh, and there's 1 whole jalapeno in there. So I wanted to tell you and just show you this because, I don't have a food processor. Things aren't chopped perfectly. I'm 73. I don't always get everything exactly right when it comes to how well something's diced or chopped or minced. But I'm doing it in my blender, and it's good, and my food is safe and good to eat. So the next step is going to be taking those tomatoes out, and I can smell them. I got to check on them. Everything is in the pot except the parsley. A 1/3 cup of parsley. The recipe actually is cilantro, but some people just don't like cilantro taste. So I don't particularly like it, so I'm adding the parsley, and that doesn't go in until right at the end. And then it goes in 1/3 of a cup, and it's just a chopped parsley. Fresh parsley is what I got for this. And I'll show you right here. There it is, it's waiting to go in. And so this is gonna simmer for about 10 minutes, 9 more minutes, a total of 12 minutes simmering after it came to a boil. And then I'll be jarring it up and I'll show you that process. Okay, I've got the jars filled and I'm pushing down to debubble just because it's such a liquidy sauce. Can't take any chances. You want to get all the bubbles out. And notice I leave about an inch head space on that jar. Just about an inch there. And I'll be putting the rings on, caps on. So now I'm wiping the rims with a damp paper towel. Some people will use vinegar to do this, but you want to be sure that there's nothing on that rim or your lids may not seal. So that's the next step. Then I'm going to get my lids over here, and I've got this little tool right here that's got a magnet on the end, and it picks it out of that hot water, and we'll place it right on the top. Trying to do this with one hand is not the easiest, but I want you to see the process. Okay, so here's the next one. See, I'm good. You see my fingers in there, putting that down there. Okay, and the next one, and I ended up with 4 pints as opposed to 5 that I thought I would get. So if I make these again this summer, and I've got so many green tomatoes, I might, but I also want to process some of those red cherry tomatoes. So I've got the 4, and I'm really happy to have that. I'm going to be putting it into the bath here. Okay, I'm going to tighten this one, and I tighten what's called finger tight, and it's hard to do with one hand, so I'm going to do it with 2. But finger tight means just that. You just do it with your fingers. You don't get your wrist action and your thumb in there to really get it tight. But you do want the ring nice and tight because this is going to be submerged in the water canner bath here. We've got water boiling. It's going to be submerged in that for 15 minutes with a good inch of water over the top of them. So these have to be tightened down, but just don't get your wrist action into it. There's 4 jars of pint-sized Salsa Verde in there. Some people refer to that as gold, but they're starting to bubble and the water will boil. And once it comes to a full rolling boil, which it's about to do, I'm going to allow this, or I've got to watch the clock for 15 minutes and make sure that it has the proper amount of time so that we're food safe. Okay, they're out of the canner, and I just heard one pop or ping, which means it's sealed, and I listened for them. But you can run your finger across the top because if it's elevated, as you can kind of see on the one on the right, that one has not sealed yet. The one on the back left has sealed. The front 2 haven't. So I just listen for those pings because if they don't seal, you can do a couple of things. You can reprocess them, which if you're wanting to do that, you can reprocess it in the same jar. You don't have to do anything but just bring it to boiling water and cover it again and process it in the water bath. Another thing you can do is put it in your refrigerator and eat it. And usually you've got, since this has got so much acid in it, I would think it would be good in there for about a week. So like a jar of salsa that you bought. So that is it, and that's a productive outcome for some green tomatoes that might have just gone to waste. So far, I don't have problems with bugs. I don't have problems with these tomatoes with having to fight anything with them, except they did have some, the leaves at the bottom did have some brown spotting, and I had to just, what I did is I just pruned those leaves off. So you have a great day, and God bless.